as I say, the baby's in bed, so we're clear on my end. But how long are we looking to record, do you reckon?
It depends on how interesting you are. No,
Shit, 2 minutes then.
generally like around 45 minutes, but between 45 minutes and an hour. I think we could probably talk for like 3 hours if we set out to do it, but I won't
Yeah.
Joe Rogan you, don't worry. Hello and welcome to the GD Politics Podcast. I'm Galen Brew. If the data tells a story, there's one person you can count on to narrate it. Friend of the pod and chief data reporter at the Financial Times, John Burn-Murdoch, has for years been catching readers' attention with charts that highlight just how society and politics are changing. Social classes stratifying, innumeracy and illiteracy rising, birth rates dropping, gender gaps widening, American life expectancies stalling out, and much more. Lately, his work on economic and social reactions to Trump's second term have been literally jumping off the page. In a chart showing plummeting European tourism to the United States, Icelandic tourism decreased so much it got cropped off the page. The US Economic Uncertainty Index grew so much it also extended off the axis, dwarfing the Great Recession and COVID pandemic. So I could think of no one better to talk about some of the ways the data is telling the story of our evolving American and global politics in this moment than John Burn-Murdoch himself. John, welcome. I was going to say welcome back to the podcast, although this is a new podcast. So welcome to the podcast.
Galen, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I don't know what it says about my chart making skills if they seem to get broken so often.
It only emphasizes the point. But I do want to say, as I was writing that introduction, I thought to myself, damn, you cover a lot of not so optimistic trends in the data. So before we indulge any pessimism, and don't worry, we'll indulge it, is there a trend that you have your eyes on where you're like, man, that's actually pretty good. We should be optimistic about this as a society?
I mean, honestly, there are a few. Like there's a couple of things I've written about in the last few months. The fentanyl crisis starting to ease, I think, is one that a bunch of your listeners might already be aware of. But I think that's super striking. You mentioned life expectancy earlier, and opioid deaths alone were responsible for a massive chunk of America's underperformance in that. And so I think that easing is huge. Similarly, I did a sort of provocative take a while back about whether we might have seen peak obesity now that we're in the Ozempic era. So I think health-wise, there's actually some promising signs out there. And then, closer to the topics that we're talking about today, I guess, something super interesting is how a lot of the sort of medium to long-term shifts in politics that we'd seen over the last couple of years have gone into reverse recently. So I was actually working on a talk that I was giving a couple of weeks ago where I'd been showing things like, the rise of the far right, the ongoing slow sort of death of centrist moderate politics. And then apparently thanks to Trump, we've suddenly seen a lot of those trends reverse. In a couple of recent elections, the radical right underperformed their final polls, Germany being one example, and we've also seen approval ratings for the likes of Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer in the UK increase off the back of them being seen as these sort of sensible figures relative to Trump. So yeah, even in politics, there are signs that it's maybe not all doom and gloom.
Pendulum always swings. So maybe we'll dig a little bit further into some of those trends as we go. But when it comes to this moment in data, so last week on this podcast, I talked to Republican pollster Kristen Soltis Anderson about how Americans are reacting to Trump's second term politically. Overall, his approval rating has been trending down, and when it comes to the economy specifically, he's doing even worse than he's doing overall. He's somewhere around net negative 10 percentage points on average on that issue. You've been looking at some other trends in how Americans are feeling about the economy and also how markets and businesses are reacting. What are you seeing?
Man, I mean, like you say, it's a lot of very sharp inflection points in line charts, whether those are going upwards or downwards depending on the indicator. But yeah, I think, God, it sounds lazy to use the term unprecedented because it feels like it's been word of the year for about 5 years now. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of stuff at the moment that we just do not usually see, or do not even see in extremes. You mentioned